Hi, it's Nikki, the communication coach, and welcome to video number 4 in the series of the 12 days to Christmas, not long now. And today we're going to talk about how you can preempt and have a strategy in place for those difficult conversations or for dealing with what you're finding a little bit complicated, confusing, frustrating, not looking forward to at Christmas. So I'll deal with some really obvious ones, and if there's other ones that you'd like me to address, then please just send me an email, message me, and I can deal with them personally for you and send you the information that you require. So we've been talking about emotions a lot. We've been talking about addressing what actually is the problem, and if you're saying phrases like it's a difficult time, what actually is specifically difficult for you. And yesterday we dealt with some strategies around loneliness. So let's take a couple of examples that I know are going on in people's lives. So family is always great. Having your in-laws around who don't quite agree with some of the things that you do and give you a bit of a hard time without giving you a hard time. So sometimes phrases like passive aggressive phrases are used, like, I know it's none of my business, or I know I shouldn't say this, but, and they go on to say it anyway. So you can probably already predict if this has become a pattern or a routine of Christmas, what is actually going to happen on Christmas Day. From the moment that people arrive till they sit down at the dining room table, till they have their dinner, until they leave. And some of the conversations that we know are going to happen are along the lines of, perhaps if you have elderly parents or elderly in-laws who don't eat as much food, and you go to all that trouble of putting loads of food out on the table, and they'll say things like, oh, that's way too much food, I'm never going to be able to eat that. So already they are sitting down and saying something which you will take to mean whatever you want it to mean, and they will mean whatever they mean, and sometimes the two actually don't marry and we get it wrong, but they will have their opinions and have their views, and you will have your opinions and you will have your views, and they all stem from your values and beliefs and from different cultures and different upbringings. There's lots of different things, but they're the things that people believe to be true. So for example, when somebody sits down and says, oh wow, that's way too much food, I'm never going to eat that, what they're already doing is putting in place a buffer to excuse themselves if they're unable to eat a big plate of food, even though you've gone to all the trouble of cooking it. They don't necessarily mean that this is way too much food, or anything else that we put the meaning onto it for. So we can, if we know that that conversation is going to happen, then we can preempt the conversation. So we could say, perhaps, as people come in to sit down, we could say, I know I've cooked a lot of food, please just eat whatever you can, eat whatever you want. Today is about you and about your enjoyment and having fun, so don't worry about the amount of food that's on the table, just help yourselves and enjoy. And then it's done. So there's no need for anybody to come into the room and go, oh my, this is way too much food, I don't have a big appetite. Because you've already covered it. So you've already cavited it off. Is that a word? Cavited? It is now. You've already cut it off at the beginning. What about if you have people around, you have kids, and I always say the in-laws, I do apologise, or your parents, but have different belief systems around how you should bring children up. So perhaps you allow them chocolate before breakfast on Christmas Day. I allow myself chocolate before anything on Christmas Day, but that's just me. And some of your parents or your in-laws might say to you, the kids have had too much sugar, they've had too much chocolate, they've got too many presents. So we can caveat that. If we know that that is a conversation that is likely to happen, then at the beginning, when people come in for Christmas or a Christmas Day, we can say, hey, it's Christmas Day, I love Christmas Day, the kids, it's the one day of the year I let the kids have chocolate before breakfast, it's just a fun relaxation day. Bang, it's done, it's covered, and nobody can then come back and go, oh, you know what, I wouldn't be giving chocolate to anybody at this time of the day. If you have, I don't know, if you have those discussions around the Queen's Speech, perhaps some of your family love the Queen's Speech, perhaps some of your family don't, perhaps you always have dinner in the middle of the Queen's Speech, and people find that frustrating because they want to go and watch it, and that often causes anxiety or stress around the dining room table. So we can cover that off. So we can say, I am preparing dinner for this time. I know it interferes with the Queen's Speech, and I know, Mum, that you really like the Queen's Speech. So what I've done is I've recorded it for you. Now, if you really want to go and see it whilst it's on live, that's no problem at all. Just take yourself off and I'll pop your dinner in the oven, and then you can come back to it later. Done. Bang. We don't have to have another conversation about it. So we can address. Do you see what we're doing here? We're addressing conversations very early. I'll have this conversation every night at 9 o'clock. Meg, it's bedtime. Yeah, but Yeah, but I just need to see this bit of film. Yeah, but I just need to do this. Yeah, but I just need to do that. So we can predict conversations in life that we're going to have, especially if we're in a routine or in a pattern, and especially if we have the same people around all the time, and what we do with our days. Now, if it's an overwhelm situation that you're looking at because you're cooking for 10 instead of for 2, so we can implement strategies. And what exactly is it about the overwhelm that you're finding confusing and frustrating and anxious about? Is it the timing of the cooking? Is it the space? What is it specifically? Because if you can break it down into the specifics, then we can look at how we can change that and make a strategy and a plan around that. So if it is around cooking and timings, there's lots of stuff out there on the internet where you can Google it and follow patterns, which will make your life easier. If it's the overwhelm of cooking so much food, perhaps you could ask people to bring something along. My sister always makes Christmas cake, or I think actually my brother-in-law makes it, but they always make Christmas cake, so they always bring the Christmas cake along, so I know that I don't have to worry about that. My mum's bringing crackers, or they might bring wine, or wherever you're going, if you get people to bring something along for you, it can take some of the pressure off. And you can also caveat that with, at the beginning, this is the first time I've ever cooked for 10 people, so I'd really appreciate it if you just leave me in the kitchen. I'm not being antisocial or anything like that. I will enjoy my Christmas with you, but let me just get this prepared, let me do this. And people will always say, do you want a hand? Sometimes it's great to have a hand, sometimes it's a hindrance, depending on what you like to do in your own kitchen. But you can caveat all of those conversations and have them right at the beginning of the day. And if you've got kids that want to open their presents like at 5 a.m, so they get overexcited, so you prep them, you manage their expectations for the next day, and you say, okay, whatever time you wake up, check what time it is, and then come and see me after 6 o'clock, and then we'll have presents at 7. If they know that there is a system in place, then they generally follow it, because we get their commitment. So we say to them, can you agree that with me? They'll be like, yes, okay, that's fine. And we know that once people have committed, especially verbally, it's harder for them to break that, even with kids. It's something within our human nature. So if you have somebody in the family that always comes in and interferes in the kitchen and starts to get in the way, you just say that to them. I just want to cook in the kitchen today. It's nothing against you at all. I just have a plan and a system, and if that's okay with you, you just relax today. Today is about you relaxing, and I'll get on with the dinner, and then we can have dinner, and then I'm all yours after dinner. Please don't come into the kitchen if you don't mind, just so that, because I've got a system in place and I want to do it like that, and sit, and generally it works. People go, yeah, okay. They might go off and think something, but it's not about changing the meaning. It's about you having that control of that space, so that you can have your system and strategy in place and make it a much nicer day for you. So that's how you can address some of the concerns that you might have, by having those honest conversations and having them right at the beginning and managing expectations. So you just need to be honest and tell people how you're feeling about specific areas. And if it's like, I know somebody who sits down, and by the time you have sat down, because you've been serving up, they've finished their dinner, and they don't see anything wrong with that, because that's their value and belief, is that is the way it is, and it's just not something that enters their head that they should wait for everybody to sit down. Now, other people might find that very frustrating and go, I've cooked all day and it would have been nice if we could all have dinner at the same time. So manage that. Have a caveat with that I'm going to serve dinner now. I'd really appreciate it if we could all just wait until I've served everybody, and then we can sit down, raise a glass of wine to everybody on Christmas Day, and have our meals together. And then it's done. So there's no drama, there's no sort of anger or frustration within the conversation, because it's already addressed beforehand. Any questions, please email me, get in contact with me, send me a message, info@thecommunicationcoach.co.uk. Otherwise, I wish you a great evening. I'm going to go and get my hair cut now. It's getting a bit long and shaggy. So tomorrow, when I do video number 5, I shall have slightly shorter hair. So have a lovely evening, whatever you're doing, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Okay, take care.